If saying no as a leader makes you sound tense, overly explanatory, or a little defensive, the problem usually is not the word no. The problem is everything that happens around it. A lot of leaders do not struggle with the decision itself. They struggle with how to communicate it without sounding harsh, guilty, or uncertain. They try to soften it too much. They explain too much. They start defending the decision before anyone has even challenged it. And that is usually the moment authority starts slipping. So, let's make this easier. If you want to say no without sounding defensive, there are a few communication shifts that matter immediately. The first one is this: stop treating no like a personal apology. A lot of leaders say no as though they need forgiveness for it. It sounds like, "I'm so sorry, I just feel like maybe right now this may not be the best time." Or, "I totally understand and I wish we could, and I know this matters and I hate to say no." The issue there is not politeness. The issue is that the message gets weaker before it even arrives. People are not just hearing a decision at that point. They're hearing discomfort. They're hearing guilt. And once your no starts sounding emotionally unstable, it stops sounding like leadership and starts sounding like hesitation. A much better move is to communicate the no like a business decision. So, instead of saying, "I'm sorry, I just don't think we can do that right now," say, "We're not moving forward with that right now." That is cleaner. It's steadier. It sounds like someone who can make a decision and stand behind it. And once you make that shift, the next thing to watch is how long it takes you to actually say the decision. This is another place where leaders weaken themselves without realizing it. They start with background, then context, then empathy, then explanation, and only after all of that do they finally reveal the no. By then, the message already feels less confident than it needed to. So, say the decision earlier. That alone will make you sound stronger. Instead of, "We've looked at a few angles here and there are several things to consider. And right now, timing is difficult, so I'm not sure this is the right move." You can say, "We're not approving that change right now. The timing and capacity do not support it." That sounds more confident because people do not have time to wait for the point. You're not making them work to figure out where you stand. And once the decision is clear, this is where many leaders make the next mistake. They over-defend it. This happens all the time. Someone says no and then immediately starts piling on reasons, then more reasons, then backup reasons, then hypothetical reasons. And the more they keep defending it, the more the decision starts to sound shaky. That is the trap. Too much defense can make a decision sound negotiable, even when you do not intend it to. So, instead of trying to build an airtight speech every time you say no, give enough reason to support the decision and stop there. For example, "We're not expanding scope in this phase. We need to protect timing and execution." That is enough. You do not need to turn every no into a 10-minute justification unless the situation truly requires it. A simple structure helps here. When you need to say no clearly, think in 3 parts: the decision, the reason, and the boundary or redirect. So it sounds like this: "We're not changing the plan right now. The team needs stability to execute. We can revisit this after the current phase is complete." That works because it feels complete. You are not just rejecting something, you're showing direction. Or, how about this? "I'm not approving that request today. We do not have the capacity to support it well. Bring it back when the current priorities are closed." That is the tone you want: calm, clear, finished. And to make that easier, it helps to clean up the language around the decision. A lot of leaders weaken their message with phrases like, "I think maybe," or I'm not sure, but perhaps one concern is. That kind of language softens the sentence before it has a chance to land. So, instead of saying, I just think maybe this isn't the best approach right now, you can say, this is not the right approach right now. Or instead of, I'm not sure we should move forward with that, say, we should not move forward with that. That does not make you rude. It makes you clear. And clarity is usually what people are actually looking for from a leader. Now, some people hear this and worry that being more direct will make them sound aggressive. Usually, that is not the real issue. The real issue is not directness, it's delivery. You can be very direct and still sound professional if your tone is calm. For example, no, we're not going to add that in this round. If that is delivered steadily, it does not sound harsh. It sounds composed. Again, if the tone is calm, the message feels controlled, not reactive. So, when practicing this, do not just focus on the wording. Focus on whether you can say it without rushing, without tightening up, and without sounding like you need the room to approve your decision emotionally. Let's look at a final example. Take a cross-functional setting where someone is pushing for a faster rollout before alignment is actually in place. A weaker answer might sound like, so I understand the urgency and I know everyone wants to move quickly and we're still discussing some workflow concerns. A stronger answer is, we're not accelerating rollout yet. Workflow alignment is still incomplete and moving forward now could create downstream issues. That is leadership language. It is clear, calm, and not defensive. So, if you want something practical to take into your next meeting, here is what I would focus on. Say the decision earlier, support it briefly, stop when it's clear, and pay attention to the words that make your message sound smaller before it lands. You do not need every no to feel soft. You need it to feel stable. That is the real shift. Because saying no well as a leader is not about making everyone comfortable with your decision. It's about making the decision sound clear, calm, and grounded enough that people can trust it. And when you do that, you protect your authority without becoming cold, vague, or overly defensive.